The Maple Leafs get trounced in Columbus. Sound familiar? We'll recap the disappointing loss and decide if this is cause for concern or a blip on the radar. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On at Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf Central podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. What's going on, Dave? How are we feeling after that one? Maple Leafs fall 6-2 to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Boy, oh boy, that was not a good one.
Yeah, not good. But I'm not gonna the number of people who are like seeing how upset people got. It's like your first time. We're we've been through this.
But Dave, yesterday we talked about how things were different. Does it I think that might be why, right? Like that could be why. And maybe we were too quick to anoint this a different looking team, right? A little too quick to crown Craig Berube as the GOAT coach who's pushing the right buttons. Maybe this still is the same old inconsistent Leaf squad that we've had the last few years. Maybe it's the players and not the coach after all, because coming into this one, we talked about it. This is typically the game. This is typically the kind of trap game where the Maple Leafs falter, they fall behind early, and then they get blown out. And it's exactly how it played out, Dave. Exactly how it played out. The same way it would have if Sheldon Keefe were on the bench. And I think that's why people are concerned, because after the first, 6 games, you look and you're like, things feel good. Things feel as though things are a bit different. And then tonight, I get it. It's night 2 of it back-to-back. We're not going to completely overreact and say, same Leafs, no chance. Might as well end the season now. I'm not. It's just one game. But it does make you pump the brakes on anointing this team completely different, does it not?
Well, the thing for me is for a lot of people, it's probably I thought they had changed.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a boyfriend promised a girlfriend, things will be different this time. I'm not going to make the same mistakes. I'm going to make the same mistake. It's just why kid yourself? Why fool yourself? But to me, it's up until this game, I think it's fair to say they have been, if not the better team in majority of the games they have played this year. I would say that's probably been an accurate statement, right? There's no questioning what they've done.
Yes.
So, but at the same time, to me, this game is brutal, terrible. It's going to happen. Every team goes through it. It's just, how many of these are we going to see now that we've had one happen?
If it wasn't Columbus and it was let's say this was last night against Tampa.
Yeah.
I don't think, as many alarm bells are going off because, okay, they lost to an inferior team. Tampa's a good squad, good goalie, tough to beat. They're a stingy team. They know how to win. They play the right way. They're big. They're physical. You could reason with it. That roster in Columbus, and look, I know it's an NHL roster. There's some good players over there. Let's give the flowers where they're due. The Leafs should not be losing 6-2 to that roster. They just simply should not be. That's not what Toronto is built to be, a legitimate contender. Whether you want to call them cup contenders or legitimate playoff team, whatever. The Columbus Blue Jackets going to be flirting with the lottery here. Should not be getting blown out 6-2. No. Shouldn't be trailing 3-0 in the first period. That just should not be the case. I get it. It's going to happen from time to time. There's going to be nights where you just don't have your game, and that's where Toronto was at. Cross-border travel overnight, back-to-back. You can build in the excuses. But ultimately, terrible game from the Maple Leafs. Nobody really showed up tonight. Can you think of anyone that really played well? I think really anybody would,
you're
right?
trying to find positives in the game. It just like the only good thing you saw is like Nick Robertson scored, right? Nice to see him score. But again, it means nothing. Like and Mike Johnson pretty much was pretty blunt in saying, he scored, but it's like won't mean really much because the game was already done. The game was done well before it, right? Like I know some people are like, well, they came back from 5-0 down the last time they played Columbus. Like, and I'm like, no, like just teams that try to even think that a team can do it time and time again. And like personally, I didn't want that to happen either.
Mm.
Want the Leafs to try to make a comeback from 5-0 down because it would have sent the wrong message.
Yeah, you did. Well, I would have liked them to come back. Let's getting the 2 points would have been nice, but
Yes.
it would not have. It would have been a different tone, I suppose. But what went wrong tonight, Dave? Like what went wrong for you? Like what were you watching out there that was just like why did the Leafs look so sluggish and so poor tonight? What went wrong?
They looked slow, right? Columbus played with purpose. How many of the goals did they score came off the rush? I think a majority of them did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Toronto was slow to react. They didn't really know where to go, where to be, and like unfortunately for Dennis Hildeby, like there was
some bad turnovers tonight. Tough
turnovers. Like I'm sure people are gonna be like, Hildeby was terrible, but it was like his team gave him no chance.
Yeah,
like the turnovers, the worst thing for a goalie to have to face is an odd man rush.
Mm-hmm.
But for a goalie to see multiple odd man rushes, guys coming down with speed and not really getting defended, right? No one's getting in their way to slow them down. That is tough for any goaltender. Like you look at what happened in Tampa the night before. A few of those goals, guys coming down with speed, no one's there to really slow them down. That a goalie is now thinking a million things that he has to think about trying to defend on it, right? And so I just think the Leafs, there's just whether you want to talk about the puck battles, you want to talk about the turnovers. I just think Columbus with the way that they attacked Toronto and the fact that Toronto didn't find ways to slow them down and look to step behind, and right from the get-go, Columbus knew that they had this in the bag with the way that they were playing.
Yeah, Columbus played well. You could tip your cap to the way that the opposition played, but again, Toronto is a good enough team where if they want to set the tone early, they can. They did that last night against Tampa Bay, a much better team than Columbus. They just didn't have it tonight. Didn't have their legs early, and Columbus took it to them, and the game was over before it started. It was 3-0 before I could sit down and watch the game. Basically, like it was wild how quickly the Blue Jackets got up and running, and the Leafs never really even made a push to come back either. Like Columbus kind of controlled that thing from start to finish. That's not what you really expect to see out of Toronto. And to your point, like it's only one game. It's the first game of the season that they've looked like this. So it's not like it's a trend here that they're playing poor, playing down to their opponents. But we called it a trap game going into it, and it's exactly how it turned out to be. And it's eerily similar to how things were under Sheldon Keefe, but one game is not going to definitively give us judgment of how this team is under Berube. It is one game. We'll see how it looks moving forward. What was your reaction this morning, though, Dave, when you had heard, or this afternoon, rather, when you had heard that it was going to be Dennis Hildeby in net because Joseph Woll was not ready to go and was staying home and might play later on in the week, but was unable to go tonight after, it looked as though he would be the starter in Columbus. Sounded like it'd be a great game for him on the road, against a team that's, I mean, they won, so they are good, but against, a lesser team, sounded like it was a good time for him to get back into the net. Didn't happen. What'd you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was just the idea that, they were expecting him. Like we were talking, it wasn't like, We'll see. Like, no, it was made to be that they're expecting him to play.
Was it
All of a
practice?
sudden,
Like 3 straight practices?
yeah,
He was taking
at least
shots.
two straight practice at least. Like it was
Yeah.
like it was perplexing to me. I'm just like, why would you give it a thought that he could come back? Like it would have just been like, you know what? We're just gonna give it a few more days. He could have said, like Berube could have said that yesterday. We're just gonna give it a few more days to really make sure it's right.
Mhm.
But the fact that they went in one direction and then it quickly changed, I'm like, ugh. It gets frustrating. I'm sure a lot of Leafs fans are frustrated. I'm sure people who probably have Joseph Woll in fantasy
Yeah.
are also frustrated.
Sure. But like Hildeby didn't look like an NHL goalie tonight,
No, he did not.
right? Like Hildeby did not look like he did the other night in New Jersey. He was exposed. He looked a little overwhelmed tonight. Was fighting to see the puck. Was giving up some bad rebounds, like that rebound that he gave up right to, was it Monahan right in the slot? Just a perfect little, shot, rebound, a blocker right out to the slot that Monahan was able to bury, and that was pretty much game at that point. I think that was what the first goal, the second period, made it 4-0, and it was like, okay, curtains, this one's over for sure. But how different could it have been if it was Joseph Woll, right? It could have been a different game, but he wasn't able to go. They had to throw the kid in there, and again, maybe anointed too quickly as a number 2 backup quality goalie. He only had one game in the NHL, and everyone's like, "Oh, goaltending's been great. It's perfect. The depth is there." It's like, played one game. He had one game, played well, and then the second game not so well. So that does leave the door open, I guess, now for the Leafs to sit there and say, okay, when Wool's ready, he can get right back in there, at least as the backup, right? They don't have to say, oh, the two goalies are playing well. We'll keep riding those guys. The one didn't quite look the part tonight. So whenever Wolves are ready to go, whether it's Thursday against the Blues, or who they got, they got the Bruins on
They
Saturday.
got, I think the next year are the Blues, the Bruins, and the Jets.
Yeah, so I would assume that Wall will be ready to go by the weekend, get one of those games. I mean, getting him back in there against Boston, a team he's very familiar with, played well last season in the postseason when he played them. That might be the game you look to get him in. I don't know. We'll see. But it was a little upsetting to see this afternoon that Wall not ready to go, didn't even travel with the team, and it was going to end up being the Hilda Beast, who was not a beast tonight. Definitely not a beast. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue to break down the loss. We got the good, the bad, the ugly coming up on the other side. And all other 31 teams were in action tonight. I guess 30 if we include Columbus. 15 other games at the very least. What did we learn around the league? Who is still on top? We'll get to all that and more coming up on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. They've got great seat views that'll give you a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it, so you know exactly what it's going to look like. They'll curate the tickets that make it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater events, whichever you're looking to get tickets to. And they've got the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Plan on going down to the Scotiabank Arena this Thursday to watch Toronto play St. Louis. Try using Game Time. Get yourself $20 off using the code LOCKEDONNHL. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. You can sign up today and get $50 instantly. When you play $5, you don't even need to win to receive the bonus. It's guaranteed with a $5 play. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, David Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Available wherever you can get a podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else you can get a podcast. And also you can watch it through video format on YouTube as well. New episodes coming out Monday through Friday. It's all Leafs all the time. And the Maple Leafs falling to the Columbus Blue Jackets 6-2. It was a very disappointing game from start to finish. Not a whole lot of good, Dave. So I'm curious if you've mustered anything up here. It's time for the good, the bad, the ugly. What was good, buddy? Ooh, you got anything nice to say?
I'll give Matthew Nice some cookies for the goal he scored because
All right.
Man,
strong, dude. Strong on the puck. So strong on the puck. He can't
just like watching him play. Like he's the type of like you wish you could clone a bunch of them.
Yeah, honestly.
Plays the right way, as you said, heavy on the puck. You know, turn around. It's just simple. Turn around, shoot it. Right? Goalie didn't expect it, and he caught. And Columbus. Goaltending was not an issue for them tonight. Yaroslavl was very good in this game.
Yeah.
And I don't think, personally, I don't think the Leafs did enough to test him, right? Make it hard on him.
Mm-hmm.
And, I wouldn't say Nice is, that was a very, tough shot, but it's just the quickness, right? The quick decision to go and shoot it. He had 5 shots on goal in this game. He had more shots on goal than Austin Matthews had tonight.
Yeah.
Not often you see that.
Only 2 shots on net for Matthews tonight. Didn't think that he played particularly well, which is bizarre because this guy has done nothing but torch the Blue Jackets throughout his career. He had 9 straight games with a goal against his team coming into tonight. So that streak was snapped. I think Nylander had a 3 or 4 goal game streak snapped tonight against the Blue Jackets. Marner was always a pest and torched this team for multi-point games over the last couple of years. All that kind of came to an end tonight. Only mustered up a couple of goals, and Nye scored 1 and Nick Robertson scored 1 really late. The game was kind of over at that point, but yeah, I think Matthew Nyes, got to give some love to the way that he plays. It's a straight line game. It's very simple, turn, shoot, see what happens. Just throw it on net. Maybe it hits a body. Maybe the goalie doesn't see it. Maybe it creates a rebound for someone else to bang away at it. It's a good, smart hockey play. And it resulted in a goal for him tonight. All right. The bad, Dave. What was bad?
What was bad, man?
59 minutes of it
thereabouts. Yeah, just a lot of that game was not very good. I just think the start was just not good. Guys were chasing, defensemen didn't know where to go. They were beat a lot on odd man rushes. So I'll give the blue line was pretty bad tonight. That was not what you want to see.
Yeah, I thought the breakouts were horrid. They couldn't do anything. It didn't matter who was trying to get the puck up, whether it was Tim and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I thought had his worst game as a Maple Leaf tonight. I think he was on the ice for 3 goals. Directly turned the puck over at center ice. Try to stretch pass, picked off, goes the other way on that 2-on-1. And I forget who scored that goal. Was it the Danforth goal? Was that one or the Matthew Olivier goal? Either way, whichever one it was, I think it was Danforth on the second one.
One of the 6 goals that they allowed tonight.
Exactly. one of them, and it's just like they're kind of carbon copies. It was giveaways off the rush, score, giveaway off the rush, wrister, score. Like that's kind of how half of the goals were scored tonight. So I'm having trouble thinking the second, the third, the fourth, which one was it? But yeah. I didn't think OEL played well tonight. Not his best game. Definitely his worst as a Maple Leaf. Just the turnovers tonight were very costly for the Maple Leafs, and I didn't think that it was good tonight. The whole breakout system really lacked, and they weren't able to get much going. The ugly, Dave. What was ugly for you?
Top players. No, your top forwards like Craig Berube threw the lines in a blender and
still didn't do anything.
Did nothing. Like it was a very uninspiring effort from the top guys. Like as I said, Matthews didn't look very good. Marner didn't really see much from it. Like I think he's pointless on the road this year. It's not very good, right? When guys are,
it's only 3 games, but
it is only 3 games. It's not great, but I mean, first game no one had any points, so really, it's funny because it's just like the New Jersey game when you think of it. Like that's where most of the guys have gotten their points. So yeah, it's only been 3 games. Give them a hope that they'll, this would be a bit of a wake up call for them. They'll bounce back, but like Max Domi, I think had arguably his worst game I'd ever seen him play. Like,
he couldn't keep the puck on his stick, man. Like he
wouldn't stay out of the box
all the time.
I think if Craig Berube had it his way, he would have just planted Max Domi's butt in the penalty box all night with the way he was playing.
Basically did, didn't he?
Like that one penalty he took on Fantilli off the faceoff. Like, what are you doing? Why are you punching a guy in the back of the head?
Yeah. Not smart. Not smart. That's for sure. I thought, Domi's game was ugly tonight. He didn't play well at all. I texted you. I'm like, this guy can't keep his puck on the puck on his stick. Every time he touches it, it ends up on the stick of the Columbus Blue Jackets player. And like a couple of goals kind of came shortly after a Domi turnover. That top line, by the way, Nyes, Matthews, Marner, man, they did the underlying numbers not great. Outshot 10-5. They're on the ice for 3 goals, gave up 7 scoring chances, 3 of them high danger chances. They got outworked tonight. They definitely got outworked. Nyes didn't even score until it was when they made the switch up where it was Nyes, Tavares, and Nylander on that one shift there. So yeah, not a good outing for the top guys of Marner and Matthews, and even Tanev on Riley. Not a great night. They were on the ice for a few goals tonight too. Couple puck watching. I mean that opening goal from JB, just watching the puck. Like no one took the man in front of the net. No one took him. Just let him get in there and redirect a centering pass. No one tied him up. Yeah, just overall not a great night. Sloppy. Poor defensive zone structure, poor goaltending. Let's be honest. It's not as though, the Hildebeest made any big stops to stop the bleeding when they may have needed it to keep this team in it. Just overall, very poor effort from the Maple Leafs from start to finish, top to bottom. Not a lot of good to take out of this game. Lots of ugliness.
And I'm sure Craig Berube will be pointing out a lot of those in the film session.
I would imagine so. I would, especially since the next team that they're taking on is former club, the team that fired him, the St. Louis Blues. You don't think he'll have some money on the board for those guys to go and perform Thursday night? Trust me, he's going to go in there and say, if we play like this on Thursday, let me tell you, heads are going to roll. So I would imagine that the Leafs will give us a much better effort the next time we see them out there on Thursday against St. Louis. I would imagine that will be the case. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. Let's get to what happened around the NHL tonight as well. All other 31 teams in action. The Frozen Frenzy was underway. Very high scoring games all around the National Hockey League, not just this one, all around the NHL. The overs did extremely well tonight. So we'll get to all that more on the other side. It's Mike DiStefano with Dave Morassutti. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Hey, NHL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed whenever you place your first $5 bet, and you can do that over on FanDuel.com. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you here on the show. Big night around the league. Massive night around the NHL. All 32 teams in action. Just the second time we've seen this. You had this happen once last year. They did the Frozen Frenzy, and now that they've done it again. I'm a big fan of the staggered starts, man. I would love for them to do this more often on just like regular old Saturdays. Instead of starting every game at 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and you get the odd afternoon start. Why can't we spread these things out every 15 minutes, stagger them so you could, flip over from game to game? Oh, period's over. Okay, let's flip over, watch the last 10 minutes of that period. Okay, this one game's over. Well, guess what? There's 10 minutes left in that game, and they could carry over. I really, really wish the NHL would take an approach and do this a little more often with the staggered starts.
Yeah, I mean, especially for Saturday. Like,
yeah,
I get it. You're trying to create.
It doesn't gotta be every night, but like some Saturdays, like why not?
Yeah, I do not understand why we're not seeing this happen more often in the league, where you're creating this big event and you're looking for ways to separate yourself from the other leagues, right? Tonight the NBA had their tip off. So I think that kind of got lost in the shuffle because of that, right? Things the league does. I totally forgot tonight was Frozen Frenzy until yesterday when I'm like, oh, there's only one NHL game on the Monday. Oh, that's because all 32 teams are playing the following night. Like, just like it's totally you're missing out, because then people are like, oh, this is actually so cool. It'd be nice if the league actually like got more people invested and interested in it. So
yeah.
It's looking at ways to just bring the product to the fans in a way that they're going to appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah. And I mean, tonight was a great night for it because there was a lot going on. The early slates, I suppose, like we're recording this right now, it's 11:15. There's still a handful of games ongoing. We got 5 games left, and we still got one to drop the puck. Kings and Golden Knights. They're about to drop the puck now, but that was going to be an 11 p.m. start Eastern time. Like 8 o'clock local in Vegas. I'm sure they're just about to get started there. Like that's how long this day has been, and it's awesome. You can watch hockey all the way from 6 o'clock all the way till when that game's over. It'll probably be like 1:30. So if you wanted to sit down and watch all that hockey, you very well could have. And it was a lot of goals tonight too. So when they're going, oh look, we got a goal here. Oh, okay, let's check out what's going on in the Rangers Habs game. Like just every single game that has finished so far to this point. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games are in the books right now. 10 games in the books. All but one had 5+ goals scored in the games. All but one. That was the Wings had a 1-0 win over the Islanders there. Outside of that, every other game saw at least 5 goals, and we had a 6-3 finish, a 6-2 finish, a 7-2 finish, an 8-5 finish, 5-1, like some really, really entertaining, high-scoring hockey games. And even right now, like you got the Preds up 4-0, got the Sens up 4-0 in the game that's currently ongoing. Just a really fun night around the NHL. Lots of high-scoring affairs.
Yeah, it's crazy the number of games that we have seen a lot of like overs. I mean, over just high scoring games.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of brutal goaltending. Like
Dude.
You've had like the Shesterkins, the Hellebucks just absolutely dominating, And you just got some teams where it's like, do you guys have an NHL goaltender playing right now?
I
Like,
mean, well, Jake Allen let in 8 goals tonight when he was, so it wasn't
one of the
Markstrom.
goals wasn't even his. Like, you see the goal that went off the stanchion?
No, I haven't. Was it a terrible
Oh,
goal?
I think it was Moser they
Oh,
threw the puck off the stanchion. Buddy's at the back of the net thinking, all right, I'll collect this. It's in his net. And you're just like, okay, I guess I'm in for one of those nights. Like, it's just so brutal. Like the Panthers, they lost 5-1. Bobrovsky looked terrible for us in our fantasy league.
well, what about Sammy Montembeault, the savior, the next golden child of Canadian
4 on
goaltending?
10 shots.
4 goals on 10 shots. He lasted 11 minutes and 5 seconds into the game until getting the yank. And Caden Primo didn't do much better. He still gave up 3 goals in that game. They lost 7-2 to the Rangers. That Rangers team's a wagon, man, an
And,
absolute wagon.
and then you got Vancouver, who have Kevin Lankinen coming in right now and just winning them a bunch of games. Like,
Yeah. Goalie's voodoo, man. Like, I mean, look what the Maple Leafs are at. Like, tonight was obviously not a good example with Dennis Hill to be getting cooked, but Anthony Stolarz, who's been a career backup his whole life, has been one of the best goaltenders in the NHL through the first, 2 weeks of the season. Goalie's voodoo, man. It is absolute voodoo. You never know what you're going to get. Yeah, you look at the top 5 right now in terms of save goals against average and save percentage. Like save percentage, you got Alex Lyon, Kevin Lankinen, Philip Gustafson. Okay, Connor Hellebuck, you expect to see him there. Sorokin, Stolarz, Joel Hofer, Lucas Dostal. Like these guys are in the top 10 in save percentage to start the season. David Riddick is top 10 in goals against average to start the season. It's kind of hilarious, man. Goaltending is absolute voodoo. Luckily, it looks like the Maple Leafs are happy with the guy who's starting on a regular basis, not tonight. And we'll see what ends up happening with Joseph Woll. Does he get in that game Thursday against St. Louis? Perhaps. Do they wait and play him against the Boston Bruins? Maybe. We'll see what ends up happening there. But yeah, goaltending around the league has been super duper inconsistent. Tristan Jarry got the healthy scratch. I'm pretty sure I saw in Pittsburgh
on Sunday. He got scratched. Like, Nedeljkovic came back. The goal. Who's the rookie there right now that's getting the starts over him?
Blomqvist or
Blom, yeah, the guy that the Leafs beat on early in the season. Like,
yeah,
I never understood why Tristan Jarry was ever brought back to the Penguins. Like, that's just
that contract. Yeah,
that
what
contract,
was more of a puzzling contract, the Tristan Jarry deal or Timothy Liljegren's deal?
Oh, Tristan Jarry.
Or how about David Kampf? Actually, we didn't mention that David Kampf was a healthy scratched in tonight's game. That's not good, man. Like if you look at how much money was up in the press box tonight, you had both David Kampf, who's making 2.4, and you had Timothy Liljegren, who's making $3 million himself. That's $5.4 million between those two, just withering away up in the press box. That money could definitely be used in other places to help build out this team. You could get a second line center for that kind of money, a real second line center for that type of money.
It's brutal. Yeah, like I wasn't surprised that David Kampf got scratched, but at the same time, it's not good to see David Kampf getting scratched, right? Like it's one of those things where you're sending like how many goalies are sent. You just mentioned how many teams are getting sent messages to players right now. Where Michael Bunting, I think, was also a healthy scratch in Pittsburgh too. Like this is not. I think some NHL coaches are just that's the first bag, right? The first bag out of the trick, right? Go and scratch the guy.
Yeah. Trick out of the bag.
Thank you. But like you know what I meant. But like, yeah, like if I'm David Kampf right now, he was seeing himself in such a cozy position. He took advantage of the fact that the Leafs, wanted to bring him back. They liked what they saw from him. He was a big Sheldon Keefe. Sheldon Keefe really liked him.
I liked him
And
in his first year. I thought he did play well after his first
yeah,
season in Toronto,
he
and then
was
he got the
good when he was
contract.
making in the 1 million range. But once he got into the 2 million range, it's like, yeah, I don't like David Kampf that
Well,
much.
because you need a little more. Now you're trying to justify the money, so you're playing him up on the third line at times. Okay, he's
Mhm.
getting exposed. He's a fourth liner, but we got to keep playing him on the penalty kill because he's making all that money. Oh, wait, the penalty kills 73%, and he's on the ice for a heck of a lot of those goals. All right, guess we got to take him
Not
off
great
the
at the
penalty kill.
face-offs either.
Sub 50% right now on the face-off dots. Like, what would you say you do here, Dave? Um,
Not
yeah,
me. I know what I do here, but
you
David
and
Kampf,
yeah, sorry, David Kampf, not Dave Morassutti. You're here. You're doing your job. Unlike Kampf. I'm sure you'll get back into the next game,
yeah.
especially after the group got
Well, with
clobbered in
Pacioretty
Columbus.
also, his injury, he had to leave the game too.
Yeah.
So
Was there any update post game? Did you see anything? Did
they
Brube
said that
say
they're gonna.
anything?
It was one of those. We're not really sure. We're gonna have to see what tomorrow is like, but it didn't sound like he'll be back at it. I think they're gonna have to reevaluate, and he's gonna, like, for him to not come. I mean, in a nothing game, I
Well,
guess you don't really
game was
try it, but
over. Yeah.
they'll know. They didn't have an update. He'll know more tomorrow.
Okay. So we'll reconvene on tomorrow's show and hopefully we have an update. I'm sure probably a morning skate. They'll probably be, or tomorrow's probably an off day. It's going to be an off day tomorrow because back to backs. Yeah. Legally, they have an off day. So it'll be an off day tomorrow. So we'll probably hear something game day on Thursday. But that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. But until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.